In the dead of winter, when temperatures in rural Russia plunge below -40, survival doesn't depend on comfort, it depends on fire. And before we go further, if you're fascinated by lost technologies, forgotten engineering, and the secret's history buried on purpose, subscribe now and join a community that digs beneath the surface. Because tonight, we're opening the door to a heating system so efficient, so deceptively simple, that it could make modern fireplaces look primitive. They called it the Russian stove, but insiders knew something else. It was a hack, a thermal loophole, a design that could make one load of wood last nearly 3 times longer than a standard hearth. And somehow, much of that knowledge faded. Why? Imagine living in 18th century rural Russia. No gas lines, no electricity, no insulation foam, just logs and time. Most European homes relied on open fireplaces. Romantic? Yes. Efficient? Not even close. Open fireplaces waste up to 80% of their heat straight up the chimney. The fire burns fast. The warmth escapes faster. You feed it constantly. Wood disappears, forests thin. But Russian peasants did something different. They built a massive masonry structure known as the Pech, and it broke the rules. At first glance, the Russian stove looks like a bulky clay or brick block. Oversized, almost excessive, but inside is where the secret lives. Instead of letting hot gases shoot straight up and out, the stove forces smoke and heat through a maze of internal horizontal and vertical channels. A thermal labyrinth. Every twist slows the exhaust. Every turn steals more heat. By the time smoke finally exits the chimney, most of its thermal energy has already been absorbed into thick masonry walls. Think of it as a heat battery. You burn hot and fast for a short time. Then the fire dies. But the bricks, they radiate warmth for hours, sometimes an entire day. One firing, all-day heat. Is that efficiency accidental or engineered genius? Here's where it gets interesting. Traditional fireplaces burn wood inefficiently because combustion temperature fluctuates wildly. Cold air rushes in, flames struggle, smoke increases, energy escapes. The Russian stove does the opposite. It encourages an intense high-temperature burn in a sealed chamber. That complete combustion extracts maximum energy from each log. Less smoke, more heat transfer. And because the masonry stores that heat, you don't need constant feeding. Observers in the 19th century noted something astonishing. Homes using this stove required dramatically less firewood than comparable European homes. Some accounts suggest reductions approaching 2/3, tripled firewood life. That's not a small improvement. That's a survival advantage. So why didn't the whole world copy it? The Russian stove wasn't just for heating rooms, it was built large enough to sleep on. Yes, people literally slept on top of it. The masonry would slowly release stored warmth upward, creating a heated platform, perfect during those harsh Siberian winters. Children slept there, the elderly slept there. Sometimes the sick were placed there because the dry, radiant heat eased respiratory issues. Now ask yourself, is this just a stove or an integrated thermal lifestyle system? Here's where the story turns. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, industrialization accelerated across Russia and later the Soviet Union. Standardized housing, central heating, coal, then gas pipelines. Mass production prefers uniform systems, not custom masonry monsters built by skilled artisans. Russian stoves required master stove builders. Precise channel shaping, proper drafting. It wasn't plug and play. Industrial society doesn't love handcrafted complexity. It loves replaceable parts. And slowly, the knowledge declined. Was it deliberate suppression, or just economic evolution? Either way, something powerful was left behind. Here's the twist. In the 1970s energy crisis, Western engineers began studying high-efficiency wood heating systems. They developed masonry heaters, rocket mass heaters, thermal storage walls. And what did they find? Slow exhaust pathways increase heat extraction. High-temperature complete combustion reduces emissions. Mass equals stability. Sound familiar? The Russian stove had been doing it for centuries, without computer modelling, without laboratory data, just observation and necessity. So the question becomes, how much ancestral engineering have we ignored because it wasn't patented? Let's break down the core mechanics. Sealed combustion chamber that encourages a hot, clean burn. Extended flue channels, these force heat to linger inside the masonry. Then there's the thermal mass, brick and clay that absorb and store energy. Finally, radiant heat release, slow, even warmth over many hours. Unlike convection-heavy modern furnaces, the Russian stove relies primarily on radiant heat. It warms objects and bodies directly rather than just overheating the air. Radiant heat feels different, more stable, more enveloping, almost biological, you know? Coincidence? Or is it just intuitive physics? Now, let's be careful here. Was it literally 3 times more efficient in all cases? Probably not universally, but compared to open hearth fireplaces, the difference was massive. Modern masonry heater tests show efficiencies exceeding 80%. Open fireplaces often struggle below 20%. That gap, well, it changes everything. Fuel consumption, deforestation rates, indoor air quality, labour hours spent chopping wood. In harsh climates, efficiency isn't just convenience. It's survival mathematics. Energy costs rise, power grids strain, resilience becomes a conversation again. And suddenly, this centuries-old brick monolith doesn't look outdated. It looks honestly prophetic. People across Europe and North America are quietly rebuilding masonry heaters inspired by Russian designs. Not because they're nostalgic, because physics still works. The laws of thermodynamics haven't changed. Have we been too quick to abandon slow, heavy analog solutions in favour of instant heat? What other technologies did our ancestors perfect that we dismissed as primitive? Imagine this. A winter night. Outside, -30. Inside, no roaring flame, no constant feeding. Just a silent, massive structure radiating steady warmth. Powered by a short morning burn. No electricity, no pump, no grid, just fire, captured intelligently. The Russian stove wasn't magic. It was patience, physics, and design discipline. And maybe, just maybe, the real hack wasn't the stove. It was understanding energy deeply enough to respect it. If you enjoyed uncovering this forgotten engineering marvel, subscribe and turn on notifications. More hidden technologies, lost blueprints and buried innovations are coming, because history doesn't lose knowledge. It waits, and we're here to find it.